For anyone passionate about rallying or racing escorts in New Zealand, Palmside is the go-to place for parts and preparation. The man at the helm is historic rally driver Dean Buist.
So we were in Hunay Road for years, and we had a wee car yard down there, and then we sort of were doing a lot of rallying, and we started selling rally tyres. I think we started selling Bridgestone because they were sort of, they were the tyre that we were using, and then we just started selling more and more parts. I used to buy a lot of stuff off Simon Curry in the day, and just then started importing parts for the escorts because we've always been keen on escorts, and yeah, just grown into what it is today. My dad said, because I was useless at school, I failed everything, he just said you can leave school as long as you had a job, so I just applied for any job. I even applied to be a typewriter technician. There'd be no future in that, would there? And then he took me on as an apprentice and in the workshop, and then I worked there for about 3 or 4 years, I suppose. When I worked for Dick Byrne, who used to own IF780. When Dick had it, Glenn sold it to Mike Turfus, and he painted it back to the Massport colours. Then when Mike sort of was over it, he sold it to Ashton, and then Ashton had it for 20 years, I think close to 20 years, and then he obviously crashed it and just sort of wanted to fix it, but just never got to fixing it. And then one day he decided that, we'd let us buy it. Well, it was really a box of bits. We, put it back together, and then we painted it back to the colours of Creed Taylor, just for something different. They just handle so well compared to other cars. It's just, I don't know, you drive other cars and you can get the speed out of them, but the Escorts just is forgiving and handles really well, And I think because everything's come forward, like suspension and tyres, and the difference between four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive is the grip, isn't it? A BDA is about 180 at the wheels. That's about all they have. You can get a bit more, but then you've got to put a bigger cam in it, and then you don't have the mid-range. And for gravel, you really sort of need that mid-range. So we don't get real hung up on dynos and horsepowers and stuff like that. Because I wasn't really that keen on rallying. The brothers started rallying, Bert and Krusty, or Krusty started first, and then I wasn't that keen, and I said, I'm not going to do that. It cost too much money. But then I sort of got the bug, bought my first Corolla off John Kennard. Well, I was started with a K25, and then we had a K70, T71. Every year you seem to get another car for whatever, we must have had more time on our hands in those days. And then we bought the old A92, and we ran that for quite a few years. And that was the car we did a lot of. We did Rally New Zealand and all that stuff, so that was probably the favourite car.
Dean Buist is the local driver with a big advantage here. Many runs up the Mount Grey stage, and he was fastest. And by stage 2, that lead would be out to 30 seconds, and Buist was only 2.5 seconds behind the Rally Challenge Mitsubishi of Caleb McDonald. But it was Tim McIver who was second fastest over the first 2 stages. This is the car that Hayden Paddon had used at the Otago Classic Rally back in April. And McIver was impressed with the improvements that Paddon had made to his Mark II Escort.
Yeah, no, it's great to have it out. The last person that was driving it was a heck of a lot faster than me, being Mr. Paddon, but he's done a fantastic job, I think, setting it up, getting back in it. Just felt so good today, so yeah, great to have it out.
Stephen Gill in third, and only 16 seconds down on McIver, so easily in touch with the leaders. Unfortunately, Andy Martin didn't get further than the start of stage 1 when a distributor rotor broke, ending his day. The smaller capacity historics of Pat Norris's Toyota and Mike Cameron's Mitsubishi continued to battle for their own honours. Norris led the Cameron Mitsubishi by stage 2, but the gap would remain consistent throughout the morning. On the power stage, Buist scored the 5 points for the stage win and extended his lead, while still remaining 7th outright in the NZRC standings, proving that a well-driven, well-prepared Escort can compete with the turbo four-wheel drives. McIver didn't quite have the pacer experience of Buist on these roads, but still held second place. But Stephen Gill was starting to close the gap to third, for 21 seconds. The final run through Mount Grey Road, and in these conditions there is no better car than a BDA Escort to race through the trees. Buist has IF 780 singing on the way to another historic victory with just a race around the track at Ruapuna to go.
Yeah, it's definitely cool coming down Mount Grey.
Yeah, wouldn't be doing that very often.
No, not these days. No, but it's good. No, it's a good rally. It was good. It's
cool.
Good for a new rally for the championship. It's really good.
Yep.
McIver and Gill posted identical times through stage 8, but McIver's advantage over the earlier stages meant he would finish second to Buist. Third for Gill, to go with the 2 podiums he's scored in the previous rounds, so he remains the main threat to Buist in the historic championship. Pat Norris brought his Toyota AE86 home in 4th, battling an oil leak into the distributor all day. And Mike and Helen Cameron continued their personal rally adventure, finishing the stages, having fun and handing out lollies along the way. So confirming the historic class results, Buist from McIver, 3rd place for Gill ahead of Norris and Cameron, but another DNF sadly for Andy Martin.
Next up from the heat inside the Hagland, we hit the snow and ice for a test of driver fortitude.